Holy, between this bastard and this biatch, man, this season of Classroom of the Elite has some great antagonists. Now, here's the thing. Aino needs to crush the snake without a doubt, and he's going to. He's a very long-term planner. He doesn't do things half-ass. He plays the long game, and when everything comes to fruition, people are gonna be left dumbfounded. But holy shit, the expel scene, right? Where he calls out like, yo, you have to be the traitor. And she, being the manipulative person she is, I didn't realize how quality her voice actress was until the switching scene. There's a moment at the very end of the episode after the credits where basically she kind of flips between the psychotic bitch and then the kind of adorable bubbly persona in such a matter of seconds between the two when she's talking with Horikita or him, and just the way she goes about presenting her voice. I mean, visually alone, you get a sense of, goddamn, that's a yandere if I've ever seen one. Like, that's the type of person that would pull a knife on you and say she loves you. But to see how her voice perfectly captured that, even more so than the visuals, like, man, this episode wasn't playing around. Not only do you get Horikita's brother, Manabu, versus Aino, which, yes, they say he ended up losing, but the fact that it wasn't about winning or losing that match, it was more so about showing the president what he's capable of, because for a long time he's suspected that this man has a lot more going on than he's letting on, and everyone is starting to see the real Aino come out, and shit ain't getting any better for anyone. But I think all things considered, despite this class always seeming to be at the lowest tier, I feel like they're about to skyrocket in ways we just can't predict. I mean, the blackmail scene at the end, the reverse blackmail, at first Horikita kind of recording was smart, and then him, the way he phrased it, it very much, it's not a guaranteed proof thing because he started it out as being like, you know, I'll fulfill your wishes here sort of a thing. I'll play along, but it's not him actually admitting. Even though a blind man could definitely say this dude's responsible, it wouldn't be enough in a court of law to guarantee, right? So the fact of like, oh, I'll edit it out. It's like, haha, you thought you had a phone, I had a bigger phone sort of a scene. But the fact that the scene where it's like, who's ever pulling your strings, Horikita? Holy shit, I was not expecting that blackmail, and the fact that there was a traitor within a traitor, and I was like, what are we doing here? It's kind of genius because there's so many different pieces being manipulated. We have a psychotic bitch who at any moment could start a school shooting, it feels like, if anyone knew about her identity, and then that secret got, I guess, projected to all these different people. We go from her just wanting to expel Horikita to now wanting to expel Aino because he also is now on her hit list. This girl is a absolute lunatic. I mean, we've kind of known that for a bit, but not to, I think, this degree. I thought it was clever, the kind of reminder, which I complimented before, is that not everyone's going to have rewatched season 1 in anticipation of this, so there's a lot of like little details that were big in the season, but it's easy to forget. So the idea of like the fingerprint scene where she basically forced his hand on her chest, and that could be used as like a sexual harassment thing, and obviously we could see how he could be expelled. But it's interesting to see how for so long we've been waiting, I feel like, for this man to show his true colors, or at the very least to start making bigger moves than just feeling like he's in the shadows. He's now to the point that at the very least his class, the morale is back up. They absolutely are a team again. And a large part of that is because Horikita took Aino's advice and was able to bring back their star athlete, and he ended up apologizing and all was well, right? But I think the fact that he actually showed that he could keep up with, arguably, you know, the person that the whole school looks at as top tier, the best of the best. You know, it's pretty crazy that, you know, he's breaking out of his shell, but it feels like he's doing so on purpose, right? He doesn't accidentally expose details about himself unless there's a reason for it. Yes, he tries to downplay it like, oh, it was just adrenaline, but ultimately he needs this man to understand something. And all we know at this point is that he wanted for sure for him to understand that he is better than he lets on. And the reason for that is hard to say. Was it simply Aino passing the message along to him, or was that potentially the student council? Was there some details there that we didn't realize? And because he proved that, you know, ultimately, like, their class is a lot more skilled than he might think at first glance, he's decided to protect his sister. Like, there's potential for that as well. All we know is that it doesn't matter if Aino was directly involved in certain things. He has set the pieces in motion in a way that his hand has been involved no matter what, even if he's not the direct cause for everything happening. And I think it's fascinating watching this episode take place where, still, like I said, I mean, this setting isn't that interesting. Whether it's the boat in the first arc to a sporting day event, they're boring ass settings. I'm not a fan of them. I wasn't a fan of them in school. I wasn't a fan of them in anime. But the thing that makes Classroom of the Elite so good is the dialogue. Like, I didn't need to even see the race, to be completely honest. I would have been perfectly fine with just that standoff of them talking. But the way they go about presenting this world that on paper should be boring as hell to follow, but Classroom of the Elite says, hold my beer, we're gonna make it absolutely exhilarating, and honestly, it can rival shonen battle fights at times for me. It's just so damn compelling, and to see the snakes, to see the traitors, to see the sabotage, and to see the connections be formed, this man is manipulating so well, but it's nice to see that his advice, as harsh as it can be, is definitely being taken into heart. The fact that Horikita definitely is taking his advice, not only making a pond for herself, but also is growing to learn that she can't do everything by herself, and ultimately she does need to rely on others, sort of a thing. It's nice to see that it's not falling on deaf ears, right? He actually is making things happen and people are starting to listen, and definitely eyes are starting to be paying on him, good and bad alike, that this man is definitely something else. And it will be interesting to see by the time we reach the end of the second season and then lead into the third, what his character will be viewed as and where that could lead for future story arcs. But I mean, just the amount of times these kids, man, can just stand in front of each other, threaten, blackmail, all these different things, and it just kind of sends a chill up your spine. It's absolutely breathtaking. Truthfully, I'd go as far to say this is one of my favorite episodes of Classroom of the Elite to date, honestly. I really, really enjoyed it. And just to see how the pieces are falling into place. The cool thing about Classroom of the Elite is rather than it being in the way of like, okay, you know, clearly the end goal is to get to this rank in their class, right? Instead, like within this episode, there's like 3 or 4 moments that feels like some piece got knocked over and then he was able to progress, but it still feels like such a long road to get to the grand finish line. But within a single episode with all these big things happening, they're so small with where Aino truly wants to go. And the fact that these big shocking moments are just going to feel small in comparison to where eventually he will go in the future, that's the type of excitement, you know, you just yearn for in anime, the things that you actively search for. And for me personally, Classroom of the Elite absolutely hits it out of the park, and I thought they did a great job with dramatic directing. The voice actors were probably my favorite part in this episode. I thought they did a great job, from general schoolmates to the psychotic snake that we saw at the end of the episode. Everything about this man is absolutely doing it for me, but hey, that's just my opinion. What did everyone think, whether if you're a fan of that source material or if you're anime original? Especially if you're anime original, did you see some of these big moments coming? I'd love to know your thoughts down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.